So what we have done is we have brought together just above 20 of some of the leading experts and frontline actors and responders around children, business and human rights in some parts of the African continent. Our aim is to provide a platform that allows sharing of ideas, brainstorming, reflection, sharing of experiences from the different countries, different contexts in terms of what we are seeing happening around children, business and human rights. It's a fairly new topic which is not yet fully developed in terms of normative frameworks. Countries are still struggling with practices. Corporate accountability is also still a big issue. So what we are trying is to identify some of the gaps that are there, but importantly the interventions that we can mount. So this training is really to share knowledge, but above all, we want to try and scope out what are some of the active children's rights issues that are happening in communities that we could perhaps build into cases that we can take before the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, with a view to develop jurisprudence, normative pronouncements that could be built into practice, that could guide countries, that could guide corporate actors around how to behave in manners that protect children. What's needed is that when African countries are doing business, are doing trade, are doing commercial activity, usually children and women, children in particular, are at the receiving end of some business practices. Talk about child labor, talk about issues like pollution of the environment in the course of extractives, etc., poor products. So our point is that at the point of building trade relations, at the point of building products, building services, corporates must already think about the negative impacts in particular that are going to visit upon children. But states, at the end of the day, maintain oversight, including licensing, regulation over these corporates. So states must play their primary duty as the primary protectors of children. So we are also making demands upon the state. So at the end of the day, it's a role that brings many stakeholders together. Society, child rights advocates, the businesses themselves, states, which are the regulators, but also the regional and sub-regional bodies, the regional economic communities, the African Union itself as the continental body. We do have some normative frameworks in place around child protection, but these are not exactly in-depth when it comes to children, business and human rights. In fact, business and human rights as an area doesn't have a standalone normative framework on the African continent. So for now, we are speaking about what the various instruments provide. So we are still quite a long way to go in terms of harmonizing practice, speaking the same language, making sure that norms have been set up. That's where bodies like the African Committee of Experts become important, because they sit in a position where they are able to make pronouncements in terms of policy, in terms of frameworks, in terms of standards that could guide countries, that could guide the African Union, that could guide businesses in terms of their practice. Poverty enables certain practices like child labor to be prevalent. And that is why when you look at most African societies, the rates of child labor and other forms of child exploitation are quite high. So what we are saying is, as we chase development, as we seek investment, we must be very mindful of what we might compromise or what we are already compromising, which is the well-being and welfare of children. Any kind of economic development or economic enterprise that destroys the very people that it is seeking to benefit may not be worth the while. So as we are seeking to develop, we must not compromise. At the end of the day, the goal is to eradicate poverty, which is a huge enabler of exploitation of children, particularly in the field of business and human rights. Secondly, the issue of accountability. We must not compromise accountability. We must not abdicate our responsibilities to hold those who are in power to account, to hold those who are harming or exploiting children to account. It's a duty that governments hold because they are the regulators. They are the ones who are the licensing authorities. They are the ones who can determine what kind of investment and business can be done here or there. Corporates themselves, they must practice self-accountability, but they must know that they would be held accountable. So there must be assurance, there must be predictability that if they break the law, if they violate rights of children or anyone for that matter, they'll be held to account. Accountability is the running thread that will make sure that businesses behave appropriately. You know, with corporates, there are certain regions or parts of the world where they behave properly. And then there are certain parts of the world where they are lax in their approach. Why? What's the difference? It comes down to how we enforce regulations. It comes down to how we hold them to account. That's what we want to do on the continent.